Crossovers and SUVs are becoming the preferred choice over sedans across various price points. But the executive sedan segment has shown signs of recovery in the recent times, and that's thanks to very well thought of cars like the Suzuki Ciaz, the Honda City, and of course the Hyundai Verna. But when you say the words well thought of, one word that comes to mind is Toyota, and they now have a new contender in this space. They're calling it the Yaris. Let's first understand what is the Yaris. The Yaris is a popular model line that is available in hatchback and sedan body styles. It is based on Toyota's B platform, which was developed for all B segment vehicles. The Yaris is now in its third generation, and unlike the cute and sober Yaris sold to the United States, we get the Asia spec model that has a sportier and a more radical design. Speaking of design, it is in line with the likes of the new Prius, Camry and Corolla, and therefore you see new age Toyota design traits like the streamlined, swept-back headlights that merge into the large grille element for a more harmonious face and impart the car a wide-bodied appearance. The Yaris also gets a pair of LED daytime running lights which are exclusive to the top-spec trim and look rather nice. The fog lights have a tall upswept housing which adds more sophistication to the face. The side profile gets two sharp creases which lend it a sporty character. Unlike many sedans that are planned alongside a hatchback variant, the Yaris has a more balanced three-box design and the tail doesn't look like an afterthought. The India spec model sits on a slightly higher and softer suspension setup, but a ground clearance of 152mm is one of the lowest in this class. The range-topping trim seen here gets 15-inch alloy wheels shod with skinny 185 section tires. These dimensions remain standard across the range. The sweeping taillights look smart, and the huge reflectors prevent the bulky bumper from looking drab. Can the Yaris carry plenty of cargo? Oh yes! The 476-litre boot may not be the best in class, but is designed quite wisely with no protrusions eating into the usable space. The Yaris takes a very simple yet functional approach for its cabin, and that's in typical Japanese style. You also get this nice black and beige combination. You have these satin inserts which all looks quite nice. You also get this faux stitching which mimics the effect of a leather-wrapped dashboard, though it is not. What you do get, however, is leather upholstery on the seats for the top-spec trim. You also get this touchscreen infotainment system which in my opinion looks a bit aftermarket, and the software is a little laggy for my liking. But like I said, I like the overall fit and finish of the car. It's typical Toyota. It feels quite premium even for this space. I also like the cool glove compartment, and I also like the way it nicely compartmentalizes all the storage space. Apart from that, you have other little cubby holes and other storage spaces peppered around the car for all your knickknacks. All the storage spaces and controls fall easily at hand. The infotainment gets gesture controls for a hands-free operation of common audio controls, while the unit itself sits high on the dash and doesn't need you to take your eyes off the road often. The instrumentation is easy to read, and the multi-info display also lets you calculate the money saved by driving economically. The front seats in the Yaris are nicely contoured for long-distance drives and are quite supportive even for taller and wider passengers. The rear bench, however, gets mixed reactions. Mixed reactions because Toyotas are also known for their rear seat comfort. Now, as far as comfort goes, I feel that this seating is not going to have a problem at all. I like the overall contouring of the seats. I like the way the backrest is laid out. It's nice and comfortable. I also get good knee room. The visibility is excellent too. But the problem is the headroom. At my height of about 5 feet 8, it's not a big deal. But if someone who were a 6-footer were to sit in here, they would brush their head against the roof quite often. What's even worse is if you were to hit a speed hump at speed, then there's every chance that you will hit your head against the roof, and that's not a very nice feeling. As far as the features go, you do get these two 12-volt sockets. You also get a blind for the rear windshield. However, I think this space is a little too cramped, and looking out of that through the inside rearview mirror could become a bit of a problem. What I particularly like are these rear AC vents, so I can direct the flow towards myself, or if I do not have any rear seat occupants, I can just push it forward and have the flow directly on my neck when I'm driving the car. However, I think I would still prefer ventilated seats over this kind of an arrangement, but this is quite innovative and a good feature to have. Other notable features of the car include cruise control, electrically adjustable height, reach and recline for the driver's seat, auto headlights, auto wipers, satellite navigation and a reversing camera. Why is Toyota calling the Yaris the safest car in the segment? Simply because there's no other car in this price bracket that currently offers 7 airbags, and the Yaris has them and ABS as a standard fit across all the 4 trims. The higher trims also get you disc brakes on all wheels, ESP, hill start assist, tire pressure monitoring and ISOFIX child seat anchorage. One of the most common questions that we've got regarding the Yaris ever since it was unveiled before the Auto Expo is, why is there no diesel? Well, sources say that this particular segment has started tilting back towards petrol. More than 80% of the sales of cars in this particular segment are petrol, and that is why the Yaris chooses a 1.5 litre petrol unit as its only drivetrain option. Now, this is not to be confused with the 1.5 litre engine that's also available in the Etios. That belongs to the ENR family. This is the RNR family. This one gets dual variable valve timing, which not only burns fuel more efficiently, but also makes sure that you get better fuel economy and better power and torque, which is of course a good thing to have. The engine isn't very rev happy like some of its competition and is more laid back in nature. It redlines at a little over 6,500 RPM, and the climb beyond 4,000 RPM is pretty slow and noisy. You will need a downshift or two to pull overtakes at highway speeds. The engine is quite refined otherwise and drives pretty nicely in the city environment. It can be specified with a 6-speed manual or a CVT automatic. The CVT gearbox, I have my reservations. In the city it's fine, it's nice and convenient, but out on the highway, it goes almost all the way to the red line before it selects the next ratio, and that can get a little irritating, and that's because of the pronounced rubber band effect. The engine will just rev, make a lot of sound and then shift gears. That, in my opinion, is not a nice feeling. I personally like the manual transmission a little more. The engine also doesn't feel as restrained as it does with the CVT, but then you just can't ignore the convenience that the CVT brings along, can you? The manual is what I would choose. The shift quality is good and the clutch operation is light. The steering is conveniently light too. For highway use, I would have liked it to weigh a little more, and around twisties, I would have liked it to be more responsive. Toyota tells us that compared to the other Asian counterparts of the Yaris, the Indian version gets a slightly different suspension setup. It's got a slightly softer setup, it rides a little higher as well, and that is to take on the bad Indian road conditions. Now, outside of Bengaluru where we are driving this car, the roads are simply superb, they're smooth, but we did subject this car to some tall speed humps, to some undulations and to some deep potholes, and it fared excellently over all of those. It just glided over all of those. So if you are looking for a comfortable car to glide over speed humps, well, not speed humps, but at least potholes and undulations in the executive sedan space, I think the Yaris will be one of the best cars to do it in. Despite the wake steering and the laid-back engine, the Yaris is quite fun to drive around twisties. The grip from the Goodyear tires is excellent, and the chassis behaves quite well around switchbacks. But the Yaris is not a driver's car, and it doesn't pretend to be one either, nor is it trying to woo the fleet operators. Its target audience are the young buyers and the nuclear families that are looking for safe, reliable and a value for money offering. The journey won't be easy for the Yaris given the kind of competition it has to fend off from within and outside the segment. But as I mentioned in the beginning, most Toyota cars are very well thought of, and it seems like with the Yaris, they have ticked all the right boxes.